the small African village of Accra, King Jojo ruled with an iron fist. He was a cruel and heartless leader who cared little for the welfare of his people. The villagers lived in constant fear of his wrath, and many suffered greatly under his rule. One day, a young farmer named Kofi decided that he had had enough of King Jojo's cruelty. Kofi's family had lost their farm to the king's greed, and his sister had been beaten by the king's soldiers. Kofi knew that he couldn't defeat the king alone, so he began to secretly gather a group of trusted friends and family members. Together, they formed a plan to overthrow King Jojo. The group, led by Kofi, decided to wait until the night of the annual harvest festival, when the king would be distracted by the celebrations. Under the cover of darkness, they snuck into the king's palace, avoiding the guards and making their way to the throne room. King Jojo, drunk and laughing, sat on his throne, unaware of the danger lurking in the shadows. Kofi and his group crept closer, their hearts pounding with fear and anticipation. Suddenly, Kofi stepped forward, his voice ringing out across the throne room. "King Jojo, your time has come to an end," he declared. The king, startled and enraged, jumped to his feet, but it was too late. Kofi and his group surrounded him, and in a fierce struggle, they overpowered the king and his guards. King Jojo was thrown into a dark dungeon, where he would spend the rest of his days. The villagers, finally free from his tyranny, rejoiced at the news of his downfall. The celebration. The villagers gathered in the town square, singing and dancing into the night. Kofi and his group were hailed as heroes, and the village elder praised them for their bravery. The villagers feasted on delicious food and drink, and the sound of laughter and music filled the air. The annual harvest festival, once a time of fear and oppression, had become a celebration of freedom and joy. As the night wore on, the villagers gathered around a roaring fire, and Kofi stood up to speak. "We are free at last," he declared. "We will never again live in fear of a cruel king. We will build a new future, one of peace, justice, and happiness." The villagers cheered and applauded, and the celebration continued late into the night. The fall of King Jojo marked the beginning of a new era for the village of Accra, one that would be filled with hope, prosperity, and freedom.